By the way, you're going to be all right. Because you got the glory. By the way, you're going to be all right. Just keep the glory. Just keep the glory. Apostle Greg, just keep the glory. Just keep the glory in the house. Thank you. Oh!
By the way, you're going to be all right. Keep the glory. Thank you all for logging in tonight. Man, it's going to be another great night, another great episode on IBW TV. I have a very good conversation coming up with Minister Yolanda Burgess of the Kingdom Entrepreneurs, of IBW Kingdom Entrepreneurs. And we are looking forward to it. So for now, we just want everybody to share. We want everybody to tag in the comment section. Let people know that we are live. And we're going to do a couple of shout outs. We're going to pay a couple of bills, do a couple of announcements while we are waiting for more people to log in. Mother Luella Smith, thank you for logging in tonight from Baltimore, Maryland, one of our faithful viewers. We are elated by your presence on this evening. We're looking forward to a great time tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about credit. I'm talking about credit. The Bible says a good name is better than all the riches, better than the silver and the gold. And so tonight, we're going to talk about having a good name. Minister Marcel Crawford, Pastor Greg Crawford, thank you for logging in. Greatly appreciate you and your faithfulness. Absolutely. Jersey is in the building. My good brother, the graduate, Elder Darrell Spud Brown is tapped in tonight. So we are grateful. Again, do me a favor and share this live tonight, right? So while we are sharing this, just again, want to make a couple of announcements. So Holy Convocation is happening in 7 weeks, y'all. We are here. We're at the cusp of the initial service, and we are looking forward to our fellowship, those who will be coming in from around the world to worship with us, to fellowship with us, to pray with us, to share testimonies, to eat, and everything else that goes on at Convocation that we do. We are looking forward to it. It's going to be a week long of learning. It's going to be a week long of worship. It is going to be a week long of prayer. It is going to be a week long of building, because God has called us to something great. And so there's going to be so much information to help us grow in our walk with God, to help us do life, ministry, business on a whole nother level. So we are looking forward to everyone joining us that week. I see you tagging people in the comment section, and I want to say thank you. Keep tagging, continue to tag, continue to bring people on. They don't have to be a part of IBW, because this conversation is for everybody. This conversation is for everybody. Sister Alice, thank you for logging in tonight. And convocation is coming up. If you haven't registered, make sure you register. IBW Legacy Ball. Ladies and gentlemen, this will not be another banquet. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a night of celebration. This is going to be a night of elegance. This is going to be a night of joy, reflection, where we've come from, where we are, where we're going. And we're glad so many of you have already purchased tickets. We do have seats available. We want you to help us to reach our goal of 250 people. 250 people to be a part of the Legacy Ball. They don't have to be IBW. They can be past IBW members, Bible Way Worldwide members. They can be people in your church. Listen, even if they can't stay the entire weekend or the week, hey, let's get dressed up for this night. Let's put on our tuxedos. Let's put on our gowns. Let's put on our best. Get you a glam squad. Get you a beauty squad. Call your tailor. Call your seamstress. Get those dresses ready. And let's look good as we celebrate 66 years of global ministry. 66 years of global ministry. We have something to praise God for. Some organizations, ministries are not lasting 66 days, but God has graced us to be in ministry, global ministry, for 66 years. Through so many changes and transitions throughout the decades and leadership, God has graced us, and we are truly happy and grateful. And on that night, we're going to celebrate 66 years. So make sure you get your tickets. You can go to internationalbibleway.org, click on the events tab, and purchase your tickets. You can register your young people on there, IYPU, IROC Academy. You can go to that one page and get your tickets and register your children, register yourself, right? But you want to be at this year's Holy Convocation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting ready to get started, and we want to give a special shout out to our presiders, Apostle Willie Rookert, to Mother Rookert, to Apostle Vincent Greaves, Lady Greaves, and to Apostle James Heron Sr. and Mother Heron. Thank you for your leadership. And to our, executive board, general board, and everybody who's a part of leading IBW, thank you. And so we are getting ready to start tonight and bring on our special guest who's representing the Kingdom Entrepreneurs. That's headed by Bishop Ricky Carr. She is one of the influencers of our group, and she has a wealth of knowledge. And tonight we're going to talk about credit. So we're about to bring her on. We're gonna get to know about her a little bit. We're gonna dive a little deeper. I believe the last time she was on, it was very general and just some highlights. But tonight we get to spend some time. With this wonderful entrepreneur, minister in Christ. God is blessing her life. And expanding her in the area of business. So, ladies and gentlemen, Minister Yolanda Burgess.
Whoop, whoop. Praise the Lord, everyone. Praise the Lord. I'm so excited, Elder Moody, just to be here and to share with my International Bible Way family and our guests that are joining in tonight.
Yeah. I'm honored to have you on tonight. Got to sit in the workshop during the workers' meeting, and it was enlightening, great information. But what I liked about it, it wasn't just, sometimes you have those who speak at you and like to show what they know or tell what they know. You were able to give us what we call nuggets, gems, things that we could understand, but then also immediately apply, which was really, I think, which is what made the workshop, a great workshop. So thank you for your time tonight. And we may be joined by her partner, Lady Kim Smith, shortly. But if not, Minister Yolanda is definitely well capable and well able to handle tonight's conversation. So can you just give us a little backdrop about your professional career? What area are you working in? And then we'll jump into our conversation.
Okay, so I am a Virginia licensed real estate agent and also the owner of my own brokerage. I'm also a licensed mortgage loan originator as well, in which I have the opportunity to work kind of both sides of the of a loan, of a real estate process. That's kind of what I do, as well as I do business consulting also to help people establish their businesses so that they can put themselves in a position to be an entrepreneur, but legitimate entrepreneur.
legitimate. That means you
Yeah.
got your EIN.
Yes, LLC, corporation, all these things are very, very important.
There you go. Yeah. So you just dropped something, LLC and your incorporation. Just can you just give us just a little backdrop of that, the different types of businesses that we
So, an
form.
LLC, the whole purpose of that, I tell people if you're a sole proprietor, an LLC is a good way to protect yourself. What that does is it protects your personal assets. It keeps you, if something was to happen and you were to be sued, you do not have to worry about someone coming after your house, coming after your personal assets. It protects you by having an LLC. That is usually where I tell people to start. Now, as your business grows, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, you may experience substantial growth in a year. Then you would want to consider, moving into a corporation. And there's different variations of corporations from S corp, C corp, just depending on how much income you're taking in and how you structure your business. If you have employees, if you have multiple locations, those things are all a part of making that determination. But I tell people seek out a professional because it varies from state to state what the requirements are. But get a professional, could be an attorney, or there are many other tax professionals, which we're blessed to have Bishop Ricky Carr. He is one of those people who is the leader bishop over our Kingdom Entrepreneurs team. And he's also well versed in helping you set up your business and making sure that you are compliant with the IRS.
Yeah, because people just out here just see a 60-second reel and then they go online and then they start filing, and then when it's time to go do their taxes, they found out, oh man, I didn't make enough money to really qualify for some of the benefits of
Yes.
some of those entities when setting up your businesses. So her advice, again, this is her advice and her opinion. All right, we are not hold on.
That tax professional.
Let's back up a little bit. Let me go and read this
Disclaimer.
disclaimer. Hold on. I got the disclaimer. I got it ready. Hold on. Hold on. Where is it? Hold on. Hold on. Wait 1 second. I got it. Where is it? I got it. 1 second. Where is that? Here we go. Be right back. We got to read this disclaimer and then we'll come back to the conversation. This program is for the sole purpose of serving as a reference to assist in the preparation of your church management. This material is provided for general information purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. These views, opinions, and content expressed in this program are of compilation of common doctrinal beliefs and concerns and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the International Bible Way Church of Jesus Christ Incorporated. Establishing your organization policies and procedures for the purpose of church governance, you should consider together with your legal counsel your unique operational, financial, and legal circumstances. No receipts of this information should act or refrain from acting solely on the basis of this material without seeking professional legal counsel. The International Bible Way Church of Jesus Christ Incorporated, RJC, Tax Advantage, Kingdom Advantage, and all of its partners expressly disclaim all liability relating to actions taken or not taken based solely on the content of this program. And now we will return back to our regular program. Okay, so we had to get that out.
Yes.
I forgot we had that. I forgot we had that, and I'm glad you mentioned that. All right, so here we go. So tonight, y'all, we are talking about credit score. We're talking about credit score. We're gonna dispel some myths. We're gonna give some information to help bring awareness and understanding so that you can better understand how important it is to have a good name, not just with people, but on paper, right? Your credit score is very important. So we're going to get into that. And we're going to jump right into it, Minister Yolanda. Why is it important to have a good credit score?
Well, it affects how much you pay. First and foremost, it affects everything that you pay. Of course, the Word of God tells us we're to be good stewards and we are to have a good name. And part of that, I hear this story a lot with salespeople because I've been one of those people. Like I said, I'm a real estate agent now, but I have sold a lot of different things. And a lot of other salespeople, my colleagues, have said that sometimes one of the Challenges, they love to see the saints come. They love to see them come in fellowship. But sometimes they have to send them packing because they didn't get qualified or they couldn't get approved for a sale. And that is not a good representation. So understanding having good credit is it's valuable because again, it does affect how much you have to actually pay for things. I give the example of a car, for example. The difference between someone with a 580 credit score and someone with a 650 credit score, they're paying a difference usually of about $5,000 more for a car. And what that is based on is a percentage rate, the interest rate that they pay. A lot of people say, well, anybody can get a car. Yeah, you can, but there's a cost for it. And what it is over time, the sticker price might, for example, be $15,000, but the person with the 580 credit score is going to ultimately pay about $25,000 for that same car versus someone else might have just paid 20. The person that has the credit score that's about a 650 or above. It's really important to understand that the differences that you just simply pay more. Your interest rates are higher.
Right. So, in that, you just mentioned one of the advantages, but let's break that down, like on the makeup of your credit score, your credit history, new accounts, old accounts, closed accounts. Let's talk about those percentages, like what counts, what gives you, the biggest hit if something goes wrong, or what affects your credit score
So understanding that your payment amount that you owe is about 30%. So your total debt is calculated. Think about a pie. If you had a pie and there were slices in the pie, 30% of that slice is how much debt you have. That goes into how your credit score is actually calculated. Then 35% is your payment history. That's the biggest hit. How do you pay your bills? Do you pay your bills on time? Or I tell people, even if you do have a payment history that may be, not as consistent, you might have had some late payments or missed payments or skip payments. Sometimes that can happen. You can explain your credit story. You can add notations to your credit report that says, well, I had a sick child, I had to miss time from work, I had a loss of income, I had a loved one that passed, and many things that you can put on that credit report to help better support that that payment history if you do have some negative things. Another part of that is 15% of that you need to make sure you understand your credit mix. Mix is really important. A lot of times when I'm working with clients, especially on the real estate side, and they're trying to get qualified to purchase a home, I explain, you don't have a good mix. You've just got a bunch of credit cards. You're just telling me what your credit card reports as an installment loan. You're telling me, okay, you're good at doing that, but what about an auto loan? Or what about other forms, of credit? Like, do you have credit cards with higher limits? Because a lot of times people just get a credit card and they'll stay. Like, okay, they pay that 500 on time, but their score kind of remains stagnant. But every so often, every 6 months, you have the opportunity to call the credit card companies and say, I would like an increase because I have 6 months of good payment history. And what that will actually do is help you with your credit usage, which is the next part, which is about 10%. How you use that credit. If you've got a 500, let's just do even numbers. You got a $200 credit card limit, right? Or 2,000, let's say $2,000 credit limit. You want to keep that usage under 10%. You don't, which means you only should spend $200. Now, most people say, well, what's the purpose of having a higher limit? But what that does is it keeps your usage low, which is factored into how your credit scores come.
That's good. That's good because, in the past, some have, said a little higher, maybe 30%, right? But, there are times when sometimes they may decrease your limit. And if you're not careful going by the 30% that some have suggested, that 30% now becomes, maybe 50%. What happens if that 2,000 went to 1,000,
if you don't pay attention.
And so that's really good that you're even suggesting 10%, which is different from what some, may say. That's a very safe number. So thank you,
Yeah,
for
and
doing.
it's important to also understand about that with the usage. It's not saying that you can't use it. You just have to know, pay it before the statement comes out. Because sometimes you do have to use your credit cards. A car breaks down, or you have to travel unexpectedly. Different things can come up, or you
Absolutely.
may need to do repairs in your home. But just make sure you pay it before the statement comes out. If you pay it
Absolutely.
before that statement date, not when it's due date, but the statement
Statement date.
date.
Let's talk
Important to
about
know
that.
that.
Paying the statement date before the due date.
Yeah,
That's
that's
good.
really important
We
because you
want
can
to emphasize that.
you can essentially hide your usage. You can essentially hide your credit usage. If you pay it before the statement comes out, which is simply the bill, before the bill comes out, because you get a bill that might say, the bill might say the 25th of May, but the payment may not be due until the 5th of June, right?
Right.
So during that time, before that statement comes out on the 25th, you've charged it. I mean, everybody can monitor your account online, or you can call in if you want to, take time to do
You
that.
can get alerts
But
sent to your phone.
that's it. Put alert in your phone and say, okay, pay this. This is my statement day. Go through, call all your cards, know the statement day. So make sure you pay it, even if it's a day before. But I would say do it at least 2 days before to make sure you have time for your bank, because sometimes banks are slow processing those payments. So you want to do at least 2 days before the statement date. And that way you essentially your usage never shows up. So you can always keep it at that 10% by hiding it, by paying it before the statement date.
There we go. So you got to know the game. You
Yes,
got
sir.
to know the game, and that's why we're here tonight to talk about the game, because it's really a game, y'all.
It
It,
is.
it, it really is a game, and we need to deepen our understanding of the game to know how to play it so that we can take advantage. So that we can take advantage. We won't have to, you know, pray for so many miracles if we know how to play the game.
And
You
I'll
can
tell you
actually,
one other thing that
yeah,
people don't realize with credit is new credit is also considered is a 10% too of that pie. And what happens a lot of times is I see it on both ends of the spectrum. I see
mhm,
clients that are steady, they've got decent credit,
mhm,
which say about, maybe like a 680 credit score, but it stays there, never moves. They pay everything on time and they cannot get over that hump. I get a lot of people call and say, I'm trying to get over 700. They're trying to get over that hump. But what it is you don't have any new credit. You literally only have, say, four accounts reporting. You might have a couple, two credit cards, an installment loan, and then you might have, auto loan, but there's nothing else reporting. So what's good is sometimes they just need one more credit line, one more trade line, and
yeah,
then boop, it'll go through the roof. They'll get over the 700. Or I've seen on the opposite side, because you got somebody with 10 credit cards. They've got too much credit that they have extended, and they might not even be using it all. But the problem is it's affecting their new credit. So it's like a balancing act. I say it's like juggling.
yeah,
There's a balance to it. You've got to know, you've got to understand that you've got to keep the scales even when it comes to this. So you need a good credit mix. You need to pay attention to your a good payment history. You need to have one-time payments. And if you don't be afraid to send in those notations to the credit bureau, because I tell people this, your credit report is just your story. It's the story about when I look at this, people when I meet with clients on the real estate side, I say, listen, a lender is looking at you the same way as if you had a mutual friend, and that mutual friend came to you and said, hey, I got a friend over here that wants to borrow money. Borrow, it could be $100. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to ask that mutual friend, hey, did that person pay you on time? Did they ever have, how often have they asked you to borrow $100? If they did they pay it back on time? Or did they pay it all at once? Or did they pay it, over 6 months? Or did they say they're going to pay it back in 6 months and it took them 10 months? It's the same thing that the lender is looking at you. They're looking at your story. And so your friend may say, well, they said they were going to pay it in 2 months, but it took 6. But there was a reason. The reason was, the kid got sick or the car broke down. It's a story. When a lender or any creditor looks at your credit report, they're looking to see the story. So don't be afraid to put notations in there. It's okay.
yeah.
Um, but in the process of it all, having that balance, having that mixture of making sure that your history's good, that that you're using the credit, and that you have enough credit to report. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people, I grew up from generations where my parents said, "Don't use credit, pay cash for everything, just pay cash." So you don't want to owe. The Bible says, "Owe no man, don't owe a man anything but to love." Well, that
Yeah.
sounds good, but there's no story about me. There's nothing in
Yeah.
writing for anybody to look at and say, well, yeah, they're credible. Yeah, they're credit worthy. Yes, I will
Yeah.
lend. But we tend to forget it because we look at it on such a large scale. But it's just like if somebody, like I said, wants to borrow $100 and you don't really know them, but you know the person that referred them, you're going to have
Right.
that conversation. You're going to ask those same questions that a lender asks or that
Yeah.
any creditor asks.
Yeah, that's good. So you talked about someone opening an account to expand, that credit line. What about closing an account? Like, there are people who are working to pay debt and things like that. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna close this account because somebody told me to stop using my credit card. Talk about the
That is
impact
the
of that.
worst thing you can do. Because
Mm,
what you did when you closed that account, you just wiped away some of your story. There's no more credit history. When I look at you, it stopped. That's it. It ended. So 2005, that was it. Like you mean from 2005 to 2023, you didn't borrow any. I don't know how you managed your money. And a lot of people think that that's the way to go. And in fact, your score drops when you close an account.
yeah,
I've seen credit scores go down 10, 20 points because something closed. And a lot of times, especially when people are trying to buy a house, they think that they don't want to go in the house in any debt. So they pay everything off and then the score tanks and they can't understand what happened. But what I tell people is simply pay it down to 10%.
yeah,
10% usage. Back to that 10% rule. Pay it down to that 10%, and that's a safe zone. And a
yeah,
lot of times, once you can literally pay when buying a house, you can pay everything off at closing if in fact you don't want to go into the house with any debt. But I still recommend don't pay everything off. Always leave something on there, usually 10%, because it's a story, because there's nothing to report.
yeah,
If you don't use it and if it's paid off, they're not reporting an on-time payment. They're
yeah,
just reporting an account, but it's just sitting there, it's just stagnant, it's stale. So you
yeah,
want to give them something to report. A lot of times I get a lot of people that come to me and say, well, I don't know how to build credit. Or they say they either have bad credit or they have no credit and they don't know how to build it, which there's more than one way to do it. One of my favorite ways is to authorize user. One of the things that we shared in the seminar back at the workers meeting was grandparents, parents, help your children out. They don't have to start from scratch. Help those children and those grandchildren. They get 18. You can even actually do it at 16, but you can add them as an authorized user. So by the time if they go off to college or by the time they get a career, they've got a credit history that dates back, that dates back to when they were younger. So now your credit history also becomes integrated with theirs, but then now there's a starting point. Again, the lender's looking for something. They're looking for your story. They're looking for a history. So you can simply add them as an authorized user.
yeah.
And that will
That's
help.
great because that was one of the questions we were gonna go. How do you feel? So you just expressed it, and again, especially those of us of the African American ethnicity, there are things. I'm gonna read the question for you, Sister Yolanda, so you don't have to.
Okay.
I,
Little
I got
challenge
you.
with
I
division
got
here.
you. And again, a lot of this information. Part of the reason why we're sharing this tonight because a lot of the information is hid from us, and we have these. We grew up in homes that had good intentions, and but nothing to really back it up. They were just good intentions, and some of us later on found out in life that it was kind of different, and we probably should have done something different. So even the gesture or even the information about adding them as a user on an account gives them some type of credit history and gives them a score. And if you're responsible, it actually boosts their score. It helps them, and that's very important, and things like that will keep them from like many of us going to college, signing up, right, to just to get that free t-shirt, right, or that mug that we wanted, right. We signed up for a credit card They gave us $1,000 limit, and we spent it without a plan to pay it, and didn't realize the impact that it would have on us, right? So let's go ahead, let's educate, let's let people know best practices when it comes to this. All right. So Elise has a question. How about closing a card which is paid off but has an annual fee, but you have other cards with history and no annual fees?
So those annual fees, pay attention to those. Now, again, the same principle really does apply. Even if you pay your annual fee, because a lot of cards, what they do is like they'll charge it to your card, and you'll be like, wait a minute, I haven't used this card. Why am I being charged? Because it's the annual fee. As long as you're paying it, it's still okay. Because again, closing those cards doesn't give you any history. It gives you no story. Now, if it's some ridiculous amount, I would recommend closing it. But before you close it, open something else to kind of replace it. So that way it's not a gap. It still affects your credit history, but at least it keeps your credit mix balanced. It keeps your credit mix balanced. I mean, a lot of them have really absorbent fees, but again, you're paying to use that credit. And depending on where you are in your credit journey, this is another thing a lot of people don't realize. You might get a lot of those introductory cards, because you might have had bad credit or no credit that had these higher fees and things like that. But a lot of those same companies will upgrade you to a better card, and you still have the same history. You just have to ask. They're not going to tell you. They're not going, because they want to keep getting the annual fee when your credit was bad. But now if you've got good credit and you worked on it, by all means ask. Say, what other products do you have? I've been with you a year, 2 years. I've established good credit. I want to transition, roll this over to another credit card. That way you still got the same history, you still got the history, but now you're not paying those fees, and and it should also be a higher limit if you have a great history with them as well.
Yeah.
I hope I've answered that question.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. That was good. Just to go back a few moments ago where we were talking about adding someone to the account as a user, it doesn't mean you have to give them a card. That was not what she was saying. She was not saying give them a card. She was saying add them as a user, and they get access to the score that now helps them. All right.
And it doesn't have to necessarily be family members either. There are people out there that sell spaces on their credit cards. I do not recommend those. Try to find someone that you know, because you don't really know if that person is responsible with their credit. I've known people that have done that. They paid for those authorized user spots, and unfortunately, they had their credit score were down because they didn't know the person personally, and now you're tied to somebody and you can't even get yourself off of it. That person has to do it. So try to find someone that you know that has good credit, and you can incentivize that person by offering to pay them rent for your name, you being on that, that space that you're occupying, to incentivize them. However, understand that it's best if you do it with someone that you know. It's really best to do that way, because you know that person, they're a person of integrity, and you're not going to set yourself up for failure.
Oh, that's really, really good. One of the
those
things,
are one way. That's one way to build credit. Another way that I love to use, especially for people who have challenged credit, there are a lot of companies, I'm not going to name them, but there are several companies you can research for yourself that are what we call, if I call it what I want to call it, then it's saying the name of one of them. But basically where you're in control of creating your own credit line. I'm just going to say, so Self is one of them. I don't endorse them because there are multiple ones out there, but Self, it's your own like credit builder account where you pay yourself is what you do. It's hard to say without saying it, but you pay yourself is what you do. But there's a lot of them out there, and they just basically look up, if you want to Google.
Most banks, I think most banks have them. Some
of the banks have them now too.
Take the money out of your account and put it into another account that kind of creates a credit line, but it's money, and you end up paying it. Yep.
And it'll report. It's a credit builder, and they'll report it each month. And you want to pay it on time. I tell people the easiest way to do it is set up automatic. You don't have to think about it. Let it come out of your check. You know it's going to be on time, and that helps build credit history. And it's still your money. You can use it. A lot of them have like a term. You can use do like a year term, 2-year term, even up to 5 years. if you want, and you get your money back. They take a fee out for reporting to the credit agency for you each month, but it's still your money. And that's a good way to. In fact, I love that option. There's also some of the credit agencies, because they're not bureaus. Bureaus are government agencies, but a lot of the credit agencies you can reach out to and do things like boosting your score by adding some accounts, things like your Netflix account, your cell phone bill, your utilities, even your rent. There's ways that you can go in and add those and also report. I tell people though, if you're going to do it, make sure you actually pay those things on time. Because if you don't, it's going to hurt you. But if you're paying those things on time, those are also good to go in and add those accounts, because it will boost your score as well.
No, that's amazing. Kim Smith is in the comment section, and she mentioned trade lines. So she's another one. She's an advocate for credit, making sure your credit is good. She teaches and she educates people on how credit works. This is important again because I know you want to pay cash for a lot of things, but sometimes it's good to hold on to your cash and use someone else's money. If you know how life works, if you got a good game plan, you solid, you have a good work ethic, you can hold on to your cash and create wealth off of other people's money.
Good credit.
OTM, good, and that's why good
Yeah.
credit is. And I mean, some people, even you're in the cash business, you don't see the importance of reporting the real amount that you make. But if you go and try to buy a property and you only saying you make 50 when you really make 80 and 90, that could be the difference in you getting that property,
And even writing,
that
well, I'm not
loan.
going to get into that, but even if you're writing a lot off, one of the things, strategies that helps people that are in cash based businesses is using things like actually stop taking just cash and start using some of the other payment methods like Venmo, even Zelle tracks for you. Even Cash App gives you a statement. That's a way that you can pay, because everybody didn't want to do swipes, because swipes charge. If you take credit cards, they charge you a fee for credit card processing. So a lot of I was a hairstylist and a barber in another lifetime, and so I have a lot of friends in the industry.
You do a number of things. You've been doing this entrepreneur game for a long time.
Yes, I have a lot of friends that are still in the industry, and they don't want to take the credit cards because you're being charged 50 cents to a dollar, and I've even seen some companies charge $3 for every swipe. So
Yeah,
other ways kind of around that, which also helps you with your record keeping, is you can do Cash App, you can do Zelle, you can do Venmo, you can even take Apple Pay, Google Pay. Those types of things don't have those additional processing fees, depending on how you have your account set up, or if they do, they're minimal fees, or the fees can be charged to the client as a convenience fee or
yeah,
to the customer versus you coming out of pocket for it.
yep.
I encourage a lot of them, just add it into your price. Just add it in. Say, yeah, it's really $20, for the service, but it's $3 convenience fee if you use this. And most people would do it. And it's a way that you can kind of track what you really made.
Yeah,
Because a lot of times in those cash-based businesses, those deposits don't always, the full deposit for the day doesn't always make it to the bank. You stop, you get something to eat, you stop, you get, it's different things. So it's a good way to also track what you're making. And one of those things along those lines, I'm gonna throw this out in there when we're talking about credit. Establishing business credit is so important,
that's where we're
especially
going next.
okay, all right. With it.
That's where we're going next. Blessings, Apostle Greaves. Blessings, Bishop Anthony Norwood. Thank you so much for logging in tonight. I see so many of you logging in. Continue to share. Tamara Heron, thank you for logging in. Bishop Myers, Alfred Spearman, thank you. I see you all. Louise Heron, thank you. Linda Washington, Sabrina Williams, Charlie Redmond. We appreciate you all. Share this live. Something good is happening. All right, so we're going to transition over into business credit, because that definitely is something that we need, especially in our community, right? In our community, one of the reasons that many dreams don't take off or businesses don't last as long is access to capital. access to capital. And, if we strategize properly, we can get access to capital. Will it take a little work? It absolutely will take a little work. It will take a little work, but we are shortchanging ourselves when we are, tunnel vision and only want to take one path to come to, a certain result, or to get a certain result. There are a myriad of ways that you can actually do that. Business credit is one of the ways to get access to capital. Dr. Logan, thank you for logging in, one of our Kingdom Entrepreneur partners. Minister Yolanda, let's talk about it.
So I get really excited when we talk about this because I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I get really excited when we talk about business credit. I just love to see people become entrepreneurs and do it well. As a Proverbs 31 woman, it is our job. It is our obligation and our responsibility, especially as women, which I want to shout out to the women's ministry, Pastor Adrian Partlow, and the women that came out to our Keep It in the Bag workshop that we did. Elder Kim and myself back at the workers' meeting, we had a group of wonderful women that are entrepreneurs and are looking to grow their businesses. Some of the things that we did share in that workshop about keeping it in the bag is understanding how you can utilize that business credit to actually create and generate wealth. There are like you mentioned, so many strategies. I'm gonna give you a few quick tips. Business credit is in 3 tiers. It's 3 tiers to it. Tier 1 is your basic 30-day invoicing, your 30-day credit accounts that you can get. Some of those are a lot of the office supply stores give them. All you need is an EIN number. That's all you need for those accounts. You go in, they'll give you basically, you have to sometimes buy something. Usually it's like anywhere from $10 to $100. Buy that, pay cash for that. And when you pay that, and when you get down into 30-day accounts, when you get down into a certain point, sometimes when you get to the checkout, they'll ask you, do you want to invoice this? And so that's how you can create what I call the tier 1 accounts. And those are, like I said, 30-day credit accounts. What will happen is, again, you need to pay it when the bill comes. You pay it and you just consistently do that. I always say, if about a good 60 to 90 days, you're building that credit history for your business. So those are your tier 1s, like office supply stores, janitorial supplies. There's quite a few out there. There's somewhere you can actually even get apparel for your business if you need logos made. There are companies out there where that will give you those 30-day accounts that will help you establish business credit. Just like any other credit, you want to make sure the usage. Now, the advantages, or the biggest advantage of having business credit is this: you are not penalized with business credit for the usage of the credit. They only want to see how you pay it. Do you pay it on time? Versus with personal credit, every time you use it and you make the minimum payment, or even if you just pay it the full amount, you're going to see it affect your credit score, because we're talking about usage, whether it's you want to keep it under 10%. But if you go over that 10%, you're going to see an effect to your credit score, a negative effect usually. But the advantage with business credit is they just want to see, do you pay on time? So you can actually use it to have working capital. You can use it to build your business, to grow your business. Like I said, you need logo designs. There's credit accounts for that. You need apparel, you need uniforms, you need t-shirts, you need marketing materials, marketing supplies to promote your business. All these things can be done on a 30-day credit account. And that's just all in tier 1. Now, tier 2 is a little bit higher. It's usually larger limits, and they may stretch you out to about a 60-day to a 90-day payment terms. Now, with those, you have like your gas cards, or you just have larger limit cards. Sometimes it'll be things like the wholesale clubs, like Sam Club or Costco, are in that tier 2. Now, you can fast track from a tier 1 credit, business credit, to tier 2, or even all the way up to tier 3 by having good personal credit. Again, another benefit of having good personal credit. We didn't talk about what good personal credit really was, but I'm going to throw it out there real quick. I would say a 680 or above is what they're looking. Most lenders,
So
most credit.
while we're there, 680 and above, and I know there are those who are shooting for the 800 club. But Minister Yolanda, once you hit 760, there's no real difference between a 760 and an 800. I mean, you're just really, it's for ego purposes.
Not necessarily. So
No.
it depends on what it is you're trying to obtain. In the commercial world, oh, it matters. If you're trying to purchase commercial property, the higher the better. It matters.
So
Remember,
so a 760 in terms of interest rates.
now interest rates, it doesn't necessarily make a difference. However, again, if go back to the friend scenario,
Yep.
and I'm trying to lend you $100, and I got 3 people that have asked me for $100. One of them got a 680, one of them got a 760, and one of them got an 800. Who you choosing? You're gonna choose the one with that 800, right? Because it's to remember, your credit is your story.
Okay.
It's your story. It's telling your credit report. It's telling a story about your character, your integrity, who you are. Do you keep a job? Because see, one of the things that we don't look at on the credit report, a lot of people don't think about on the credit report, but lenders look at it, that job history. They look at that. Myself, like I said, I was a serial entrepreneur, as well as I was always leaving one job to get a job with more money, a job with better opportunity. But guess what? That didn't look good, because if you change your jobs every 2 years, you don't look stable either. Why
even
are you
even in this current climate? Because like now it seems like people only stay 2 years or 3
But
years.
I can tell you, it makes a difference. Again, it depends on what you're trying to utilize your credit for. But
Right.
if you're somebody that's, you're trying to get into commercial real estate, you're trying to buy, apartment complexes, you're trying to buy shopping centers, these factors matter. Because again, I always take it back down. It's simple. And another thing, I always take it back down to, if you just trying to lend a friend money, who you gonna lend money to? Who looks better on paper? And what does their story look like? But even on the other side of that, important thing to understand is that depending on what it is that you're going for, you want that story to be as strong. You want a person's financial foundation to be as strong as possible. And between the 760 to the 800, it tells a different story. And usually the difference between that 760 and that 800 really isn't payment, isn't really credit usage. It's usually history, how long you've had it. Usually people have had credit cards, or they've had, accounts for longer periods of time, and they have higher limits because they've had them for longer periods of time. That's usually what makes that jump. That's usually what makes, the difference in those scores is the longer. It's, as I like to say, or we say, like in mortgage industry, is seasoned. You have a seasoned credit report. It's seasoned. You've had it for a long time. And it's kind of unfair because, like, again, if you have someone much younger than someone older, you're not going to necessarily have, as long of a seasoned credit history, but it doesn't make a difference. Because again, you've got to look at it from the point of, we just don't think about it on a large scale, but it does. It's a factor, and it matters when you're looking at people's, not just their credit and their payment, but even things like how much you moved around. I mean,
right.
Again, you have to understand that this is a story about you. This is a story about your life. That's why it's important to put those notations. If you've dealt with a prolonged illness, put those notations on there. Someone needs to know you recovered from cancer. You couldn't work for 2 years. That's an important part of your story. And things like that. It's important, but it's not just for ego. That 800 is not just about ego. It does make a difference depending on what arena and what circles you're trying to move in. And the difference. And this is one of the things that you have to understand, like with lenders, especially whether it's mortgages or whether it's on the commercial side, understand that everybody has a fiscal budget. Lenders have a risk factor, a risk tolerance that they have, right? So say I'm going to do 30 loans this year, and the lender says we got this amount of money, and we're going to do 30 loans for this amount. So the beginning of the year, they're doing some higher risky loans. They don't care, you got a lower score, we're gonna do it because we got to make money off loans. Well, guess what? Right. When it gets down to that last quarter, and they're looking at, okay, we got 10 more loans we can do. And this is just an example. It's a much larger scale, but as an example, say we got 10 loans left to do for the year. Which loans are you going to do? The people with the 650 that could default, or are you going to get the people that's got the 800? Which loans are you going to do? Because we're talking about the end of the year now. We've done our risky loans for the year. Now we're at this point. We got to be wise about what we're going to do with this. Because you understand, every lender is always looking at, and every creditor, whether it's a credit card, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's a car note, whatever, they are looking at what are the odds. When they look at that credit report, what are the odds? What is the chance that you're going to default? So because they're looking at it from that eye and from that lens, that's why it makes a difference between that 760 and that 800. That's part of the reason too. You got to understand how loans are, how money is, how money moves, how it moves. Nobody wants to set themselves up for loans to default.
Absolutely. So the tier 2 is having access to 60 to 90 days, more money,
gas cards, larger limits, wholesale clubs, things like that. And tier 3 is the sweet spot where you want to be, because they are larger limits. They're usually 10,000 and up, credit lines, lines of credit, or even credit cards, or companies, things like the vehicles. Everybody wants the Mercedes, Mercedes, Toyota. There's several other, Ford Motor Credit. There's different ones where now you can get the cars. Even Range Rover and Land Rover, you can get these things. The larger limits, again, but it's tiers to it. And the way you skip the tiers, again, is if you have good personal credit. You can sometimes skip over those. But if you're starting from scratch and you don't have good personal credit, or you don't have any credit, you can start right there at tier 1 and work your way up over time. And I don't like to give it a timeline. You can go on social media and see that they'll say, you see real after real, 30 days, I walked out with this amount. And people do. I'm not saying they don't, but they don't always tell the whole story.
It ain't everybody's story.
They're gonna sell you the book for the story, and then you get the book and the pieces still missing in the story. So do your due diligence. I tell people, ask questions. It takes you nothing but time to get on the phone and just simply ask. And if you get a customer service rep that doesn't know the answer, say, well, politely say, may I speak to the manager, or may I speak with your supervisor? Because they're there. Another thing I want to add to this is, when we start talking about credit when you talk about credit, understand that there are actual bureaus, which means it's a government funded and government regulated agency.
All right. So while we're here on the bureaus, can we just give, I guess, names for clarity, that the difference between an agency and an actual bureau?
So a bureau, for example, is oh my gosh, I lost the name of it. The CFPB is the Consumer Financial Credit Bureau. I'm sorry, I drew a blank. But the CFPB, I can't remember what it stands for, CFPB, but it's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I think that's the name. Don't quote me on it. I'm having a little almost 50-year-old moment. But that the CFPB,
Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, is it?
That's it. Okay, I was there. So they are there to protect you, the consumer, from being taken advantage of. So this came into effect around 2008, 2009, after the real estate crash, to protect consumers from extremely crazy interest rates that was happening in the mortgage industry, as well as predatory lending in general. People having credit cards, with like 40% interest rates and crazy things like that was actually out there at one point. People buying homes with 20% interest rates, things like that was happening. But they're there to protect you, the consumer. So if you have questions, or if you feel that you've been, taken advantage of, you have a right to file a complaint. Now, on the flip side of that, that is regulated, again, by the federal government. It's regulated and funded by them. Now, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion are not credit bureaus. They are agencies. They are not regulated by the federal government. They are private. They're not funded by them. So that is why you do not, I'm not going to say that. That's why you need to know your rights as a consumer. You need to know your rights when it comes to credit and how it's used, and your right even when payments are missed. You need to know your rights and you need to understand that. And if you don't know them,
Yeah.
reach out to a credit professional. There are a lot of professionals now. I will tell people there is a difference between some of the credit repair companies. Do your research. Because a lot of them are what I like to call they're not in the credit repair business, but they're in the credit retention business. Retention means they're trying to retain you monthly so they can continue to get your $99.99, your $99 every month. They're not sending out the right letters so that you can keep paying them each month so stuff doesn't get removed. So do your research. Look them up. See what their rating is with the Better Business Bureau. See what their rating is. Look up their testimonials, not the Google paid testimonials, but actual real customers. Do your research, find out what their ratings are, because you can find yourself just a forever client where nothing really is getting removed. They're doing the job. They're doing what you paid them to do, to send out letters, but they may not be sending out the letters that really get things removed or things that help to repair your credit.
Yeah.
So what I try to encourage people to do is to find someone that is in the credit resolution business. Resolution is helping you resolve problems. And sometimes the resolution is not always getting things removed. Sometimes it's just negotiating a settlement. Or the resolution is teaching people how to use their credit. Everybody doesn't have bad credit because they don't pay their bills on time, or they don't have enough credit. Sometimes it's just simply they don't know how to use what they have. Myself, I do credit resolution services, as well as Elder Kim Smith. She does it. And then there's also the pastor in New Jersey,
Monique Somerville.
She also does that. It's a lot of us within Bible Way, and that's part of what Kingdom Entrepreneurs is about. Part of the vision that Apostle Rookert has is for us to have that net breaking year, is to understand these things. Understanding your credit is part of getting towards that net breaking year. It's important to understand that. And we as women, who I would like to say we are the executive administrators oftentimes of our households. As the executive administrators of our household, it's important that we understand those things. Sometimes your spouse is just too busy to pay attention to the dates, that statement dates. Make it your business to get on the phone. Make it your business to open those credit card statements and read the information and find out when those due dates are. You can save yourself a lot of money. You can save a lot of money, coming into your household, to help cover other expenses, or to put some money away for retirement, or even for vacations, or for convocation, by just paying attention to the fees that you're paying and when things are due.
Oh man, that's amazing. That's amazing. If you are enjoying this conversation tonight, let us know in the comment section. We do just have a couple of more minutes, and then we're going to let everyone go. But Minister Yolanda, how can someone reach out to you?
My email address, well, I have several. For real estate, it's info@ybcaresrealty.com. That's info@ybcaresrealty.com.
Say that again.
info@ybcaresrealty.com. That's for real estate. And then if you're interested in a mortgage, it is Yolanda, spelled YOLONDA, .Burgess, BURGESS, at CFMTG.com. And for anything else, you can take it to info. You can still go to info@ybcaresrealty. I have multiple emails, but those two will definitely get in touch.
This has been an amazing conversation tonight, and I really appreciate you taking time out to, share and just give your insight and foresight. And everyone, again, please tag and share this with your family and your relatives.
One more thing.
Yep.
Ladies, look out. the women of International Bible Way, we will be hosting a roundtable discussion with women entrepreneurs. We are super, super excited. We've got a great mix of different business owners coming. I believe we're on schedule for Wednesday. No, I think it's Wednesday. We're going to have a session, and please stop in. I mean, it's going to be a
Wednesday
lively
at 2:30.
discussion. We've got childcare owners, we've got hairstylists, salon owners, we got real estate agents. We've got a good mix of ladies, some boutique owners, some online boutique owners, just some really caterers. I mean, we've got some really good mix of women that want to share their experiences, becoming entrepreneurs to help avoid some of the pitfalls that we had to go through. And we're just going to have a really good time in the Lord and sharing with one another. So look out for that at our Holy Convocation.
Actually, it's either it's 2:30 on Wednesday.
2:30, that's it.
2:30 on Wednesday, July 5th. 3 p.m. Sorry, 3 p.m. Yep, 3 p.m. July 5th. You'll see more information about it in a couple of weeks. So we'll have.
And one of the biggest blessings. So our young ladies, we've got some young lady younger entrepreneurs that are going to be joining us as well, which is just warms my heart to see some of the young ladies of International Bible Way that are entrepreneurs are going to be sharing their stories as well and their journey.
Yeah, Apostle Gray, Lady Gray, thank you so much for logging in tonight. Linda Washington, you just heard July 5th at 3 p.m. Man, we really appreciate all of you that tuned in tonight.
Yes,
if you came in late, please watch the replay. Giving some more convention updates. Everyone who does not have a room, I need y'all to hear me. Everyone who does not have a room, the hotel information will be shared on tomorrow evening. Please lock in, please be on, and get ready to receive the overflow information. We'll have it tomorrow for you, and you'll be able to prepare to get a room. All right. Greatly appreciate everyone for your patience. It took some time just to lock everything in. We were being very careful with what was being signed. That's very important. All right. So again, tomorrow we'll have that information for you. Just so much coming down the pike as to why you need to be at this year's Holy Convocation. Yes. Apostle John Gray will be teaching during our general session. One of our sponsors will be teaching during our general session. We're going to release that information in the next week or so. Minister Yolanda and the entrepreneurs group will be having a session. Just so many things that are happening. Speaker lineup has been released, and so just more to come. So make sure you're at this year's Holy Convocation. It's going to be a blessing. Minister Yolanda, last words.
I am just so excited what's going on in Bible Way. I'm telling you, we are really moving into that net-breaking year. I can't wait to hear some of the testimonies when we get together at Holy Convocation, what the Lord has done in the first half of the year. And I'm just really excited about what's going on in Bible Way. We are truly moving forward together. And I'm just thank God for the opportunity, Apostle Rickard, Apostle Huron, Apostle Greaves, just for allowing us to have the Kingdom Entrepreneurs team to be able to come in and share the gifts and the callings that God has given us with the body of Christ.
Amen. Everyone have an amazing night, and we'll be back tomorrow. Myself and Elder Brown, Graduate Brown, will be in the virtual space tomorrow. So please join us. Greatly appreciate you. And everyone, God bless and have a great and wonderful night. And IBW, remember to keep the glory. You're going to be all right.
There's glory in the house. Bible Way, you're going to be all right. Because you got the glory. By the way, you're going to be all right. Just keep the glory. Just keep the glory.